now that we can make directories and list the contents of them, we can actually make that directory the current directory. So for that, I'm going to say help cd. And cd, an abbreviation for change directory, says it displays or changes the current directory. So again, can't emphasize enough, CLIs are file system centric. They have this notion of a current, or sometimes we'll call it a working directory, of where it is in the file system. And again, that's where operations are going to be, file operations are going to take place relative to this directory. But more to come. Okay, so cd followed by some name. So I say, okay, I'm good with that. I am going to quit out of that. I'm going to come over here and PowerShell and type help cd, which we notice PowerShell thinks is set location, with an alias of cd, as well as chdir for change directory, spelled out a little bit more. Either one of those will work. And if I come over to my bash shell and I type man cd, there's no manual entry for cd. What if I type help cd? Okay. No, that's not really okay, right? You get a bunch of questions on that. That seems like magic, and there is no magic, except for the card game. But okay, you asked for it. Bash as a CLI only has some really fundamental things built into it. They're very powerful. It only gives you what you really need, the fundamental stuff. Some of the common commands in other CLIs, like listing contents of a directory and so forth, are left up to external programs. So they're actually not a part of Bash. They're actually external programs that are being called. Okay. We're going to come to calling external programs in a minute. Another video or something like that, so don't worry. Anyhow, the point of it is the command cd does exist here as well, so I can type in cd, what I call it, from bash, I think. Apparently I did, because that worked. And so now I can type ls. There's nothing in there. If I came back to cmd, oh, I didn't actually do it yet. And said, okay, let me cd into change directory into from cmd, and it did it, and I can type dir and see that it's empty. No, it's not, obviously, but we'll talk about that. And the other thing you can notice is that when I typed in the command back here to cd from cmd, it is not case sensitive. So when I made the directory, I used an uppercase MD and CMD as well as a C, and it worked either way. That will not be true in Bash. So, but before I get there, let me do the same thing. Let me, in PowerShell, change directory to from PS. Okay. Again, no error message. And if I do an ls, there's nothing there. If I do a dir, there's nothing there. Okay. So now I've been able to make a directory, change that to the current working directory. Notice the paths that changed. Okay, so now I'm in tilde, which means the home directory here, from bash, and over here in cmd, there it is in the path, and there it is in the prompt. The path is in the prompt. Okay, and in PowerShell the path is in the prompt as well now. Okay, awesome. I suppose the next thing I would like to do is to make a file. Okay, I could make a directory. I could make another directory in here. In fact, sure, why not? So let's say I'm in PowerShell now. I'm going to say MD, because I think it's going to understand either one. We'll find out. Make directory called, I guess it'll be called PS. Okay? And it says it did that. And I can CD into PS. That seems to work. I can come over to CMD. If I do a dir now, again, the from CMD is empty. So I'm going to say MD CMD, and then I can CD into CMD, and I can do a directory listing, and it's empty. I did all that over here, right? And so over here in Linux, I'm going to say MD bash, and MD is not found. So bash wants mkdir bash, and now I can do an ls. If I do a dir, it does understand that. So Ubuntu, it's the distribution, has included some aliases in there. Again, it's one of the things you have to get used to, which aliases exist and which ones don't. But what it showed me is that there now is a directory called bash in here. And so I can say cd to bash. It now shows up in the prompt as being the current working directory. And if I do an ls, I see that it's empty. Okay. We can make directories. We can change directories. We can list them. I guess maybe the next thing I'll do is to remove a directory. Do I want to remove a directory? Yeah, why not? I guess I said I would. So in bash, I'm going to say rm bash. Okay, rm short for remove. You can do the man page or the help system for rm. And I'm going to get an error. And it says rm, so this is the name of the program that was running. Again, this is one of those external programs. Cannot remove something called bash. Notice the quotes. It's literally quoting what I typed in. And then it says no such file or directory. Oh, yes. That is because bash is not a directory in the bash directory. It's a subdirectory in from bash. So I can't delete a folder that I'm in. I would have to be in the folder above it or someplace outside of it. So I guess we're going to need to come back to CMD. And when we did a directory listing on that supposedly empty directory that we had created, and I said, but wait a minute. It's showing me that there's a dot entry and a dot entry in here. And so we'll find those in all directories except for root. Okay, actually you'll find dot in every directory including root. Dot is simply shorthand for this directory. It's a shortcut or a shorthand for saying this directory. You're like, hey, who cares? I'm already in the current directory. Why do I need to say this directory? Well, it's going to come up. There are times when we need to do that. And there are some security concerns involved with it. So, okay, having said that. The dot is a shortcut, a path to the parent directory, one level up. Okay? And that's why every directory except for the root directory will have that, because there is nothing above the root. That top level directory we refer to as root. So if I were to say cd space dot, now notice my path has changed in my prompt to help me realize that I am one level up. If I do a dir now, I see that there is the CMD directory. And now I can say rd to remove a directory, CMD. Again, no error message. That indicates that everything went well. So if I do a directory listing now, I see indeed it's gone. I will come back to bash and say the same thing is going to apply if I try to, except the command is oh wait, RM. I'm pointing to my screen. You can't see that happening. I mentioned that RM is a command. It didn't find it, so we're at a point where we got to say, okay, I need to cd ... one level up, okay, and then I can say rm bash, and it says, oh, wait a minute, I can't remove it because it's a directory. And so we'll talk about files and directories, that's coming, but I'm basically going to say a -r switch, which is R for recursive, and it's a switch that I need to talk about more in another time, but at least we can see that that's empty now. And for completeness, I'll come over to PowerShell and say that we are in the PowerShell directory. If I were to do an rm PowerShell PS, then I'm going to get an error message. Notice, though, that the error message is coming from rm. So rm was not the problem. It's saying it can't find the path, and we know the issue for that. But I wanted to point out the fact that if I said rd PS, same thing happens. It's not the rd that was the problem. It's the path that was the problem. So if I say cd ... one level up, okay, check the prompts to see where I am, kind of thing. I can do an ls. There's that PS directory there, and now I can say either rm or rd PS, and it obliges and does it. I do an ls, and there's an empty directory. Okay, now we can make directories, list directories, change directories, and remove directories.